Alright folks, welcome back to the Don's channel. I am the Don Father and this reaction is 5 reasons why you shouldn't mess with the USA. But before I get into it, don't forget to subscribe and put the bell on. There's going to be loads more reactions of America, all things America, lots more to come. I'm going to guess the 5. Look here, it used to be Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Not any fucking more, they don't. The US rules the waves, they rule the land, they rule the skies. I'd imagine they lead the way in cyber warfare as well, and let's face it, they rule space. There's the 5 reasons I'm guessing are going to be in this video, but I'm hoping it is spectacular viewing. I know quite a bit about their military, having worked alongside some of the American infantry and marines in the Middle East. I've seen some of their equipment up front, their Air Force as well. I've seen some of that and it is nothing short of spectacular. The best you can get without a doubt, and they are quite rightly the #1 superpower, bar none, on God's green earth. Anyway, no more talking, let's go!
The collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 90s left the United States as the sole superpower in the world, and it's never looked back. In all aspects of the world, the United States is indeed a superpower, especially when it comes to its military might, which is unsurpassable in its strength, technological superiority, operational capabilities, and power projection across the globe. In this video, we'll take a look at the 5 top reasons why you wouldn't want to go against the US military establishment. The United States Air Force is the strongest in the world, not only in the number of operational aircraft, but also in technological superiority. The country currently operates a total of over 15,000 military aircraft, combining all the branches of the military service, including the US Navy, US Army, Coast Guard, and the US Marines. As of 2017, the US Air Force alone has a fleet of over 5,300 aircraft, 406 intercontinental ballistic missiles, and 170 military satellites, greater than any other country in the world. The USA has the largest number of stealth aircraft designed to be silent killers and untrackable by the radar defense systems of most countries in the world. Some of these stealth aircraft include air superiority fighters, such as the F-22 Raptor and the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, heavy bombers, such as the B-2 Spirit. In fact, the United States pioneered this technology in the 1980s with the introduction of the F-117 Nighthawk stealth attack aircraft. Stealth aircraft are designed to avoid detection using a variety of technologies that reduce radar reflection from ground, sea, or air-based radar antennas, thereby reducing its radar cross-section, or RCS. This revolutionary technology allows a 5th-generation aircraft, such as the F-22 Raptor, with a max takeoff weight of 83,500 pounds, to have a radar cross-section of just 0.0001 meters squared, about the size of a bumblebee. What's more insane is that the massive B-2 bomber also has the same radar cross-section as the F-22 Raptor. Thus, it becomes extremely difficult to track stealth aircraft. Even if the enemy spots them on their radar scopes, it's a whole other story to successfully track them and register a missile kill. The whole idea behind this technology is to break the chain in which a conventional surface-to-air missile defense system works. It's the same reason countries like China and Russia are also hard at developing their own stealth fighter, the Chengdu J-20 and the Sukhoi Su-57, respectively. These aircraft will allow the US Air Force to assert its air superiority over any battlefield of the future, and we all know that control of these skies is the biggest decider in any war. The next reason why any country going to war with the US military should think twice is because of the strength of the US Navy and its dominance over the world's ocean, especially the Navy's supercarriers. The US Navy currently operates 11 nuclear-powered Nimitz-class supercarriers, which is the largest aircraft carrier fleet in the world. The only navy that can come close in terms of technological advancement is probably the Royal Navy of the United Kingdom, but they only have 2 operational carriers. The Nimitz class of carriers has a displacement of over 100,000 tons and can carry a complement of up to 70 aircraft. They're literally a floating small town in the ocean with its own airport. The Nimitz-class carriers in themselves are extremely potent offensive weapons, but the way they operate in what is called the carrier strike groups makes these ships even more deadly. A carrier seldom deploys alone. There are always a fleet of surface and underwater assets surrounding them and forming a strike group. These include guided missile cruisers, a destroyer squadron, attack submarines, and other support vessels. Together, they project the power of the carrier and at the center of the group forward towards the enemy. While the carrier is carrying out its offensive role with the use of its air wing, the other ships are responsible to protect its flanks against any enemy attack. This combination of offensive and defensive strategy makes the US carrier strike group almost impenetrable. The United States Navy maintains 9 such carrier strike groups, 8 of which are based in the United States and 1 that's forward deployed to Japan. For over 50 years, this has been the principal element of US power protection, and the Nimitz class of supercarriers are at the center of it all. Despite this, the US is currently in the process of developing a new class of carriers called the Gerald R. Ford class, intended to replace the Nimitz class ships. This new supercarrier will be even more technologically advanced and is expected to continue US dominance of the oceans well into the late 21st century. The third reason why you shouldn't fight the US military is their massive stockpile of nuclear and conventional intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. The ICBM plays the role of the land leg in the US nuclear triad, along with the Trident submarine-launched ballistic missile SLBM and nuclear warheads carried on long-range strategic bombers. ICBMs are launched from ground-based missile silos, achieving high suborbital spaceflight, approximately 1,000 miles above the surface of the Earth. The body of the missile then separates from the warhead, which re-enters the atmosphere and free falls to the assigned target at hypersonic speeds. The US military currently operates 400 ICBMs from its base in Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota. The LGM-30G Minuteman III is the only type of ICBM that is currently operational in the US. The Minuteman III family of ICBMs were first developed in the 1960s as a response to the Soviet nuclear threat. Throughout the Cold War and beyond, these missiles have undergone constant modernization. In the last decade alone, the US military has undertaken $7 billion worth of upgrades. The rocket propulsion engines, the propellants used, the guidance system, and even the flight control surfaces have all been refurbished. The upgraded missiles are completely different from its 1960s counterparts, except for the shell. These state-of-the-art improvements and modernization programs have kept the Minuteman III system operational for over 50 years with improved reliability that supports the missile's remarkable 99% alert rate. The latest versions of the missiles have a range of over 8,000 miles, which is greater than the diameter of the Earth at 7,917.5 miles. They can carry multiple 330 kiloton nuclear warheads, which is 20 times greater than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Not only that, each of these warheads can be assigned to different targets independently. The technology is called Multiple Independently Targetable Re-Entry Vehicle, or MIRV, and was first developed for the Minuteman III family of missiles. So any country messing with the United States will have to deal with this awesome arsenal of firepower, which can be launched at a moment's notice. If it weren't the ICBMs or the stealth fighters raining fire down on you, it would be precision-guided munitions, or better known as smart bombs or PGMs instead. This is another big reason why not messing with the US military is a good idea. All branches of the US military use smart bombs in some forms or the other. These weapon systems are designed to be precise and hit a specific target with maximum efficiency. These bombs are so effective that during the First Gulf War, PGMs comprised only 9% of weapons fired, but accounted for 75% of all successful hits. Since then, for the US military at least, the days of normal artillery shells and unguided bombs are long gone. Nowadays, the military uses PGMs from air, ground, and sea. Precision-guided munitions come in various forms and use different kinds of technologies to achieve precise hits. A large majority of PGMs use the Global Positioning System, or GPS, of satellites to guide their trajectory to target. However,
GPS,
sometimes this becomes a problem, as GPS coverage is not always reliably available everywhere across the globe, or bad weather conditions can hinder operations. Thus, the Office of Naval Research, the Naval Surface Warfare Center, and the Army Research Laboratory have all coordinated to develop the first ever artillery-fired smart munition that will not use GPS guidance. The project is known as Moving Target Artillery Round, or MTAR for short. The MTAR shell can be guided onto stationary as well as moving targets in both land and sea, using a combination of guidance technology. The best part is that these shells can be fired from the existing M777A2 155mm towed howitzer and the M109A7 Paladin Integrated Management self-propelled 155mm artillery systems already in use by the US military. The shells will also feature an extended range of 40 to 60 miles using rocket boosters to propel them. Once finished, it will afford the US military another potent weapon system that outclasses others around the world. Lastly, the fifth and final reason why you shouldn't fight the US military is drones. We're all familiar with what an unmanned aerial vehicle or drone is and what it's supposed to do. But in recent years, the usability of UAVs are steadily increasing to encompass all spheres of military operations, and the US military is the pioneering spirit behind it. At first, used only for surveillance missions, drones were quickly weaponized after the 9/11 attacks and have been extensively used by the US military in the war against terror as an offensive weapon platform. It's forecasted that over the next decades, the US is in line to purchase over 1,000 combat drones of various classifications. Some of them, like the Lockheed Martin RQ-170 Sentinel and the Boeing MQ-25 Stingray, are already in the final stages of development, and once finished, will provide the US military with state-of-the-art platforms capable of multi-role operations, ranging from attack missions to aerial refueling. Drone technology has reached such heights today that a single UAV can loiter miles above the surface of the Earth for hours, waiting for the target to show its head and sticking with impunity. This capability will allow all the services under the US military to reduce its dependency on manned platforms, thereby reducing the risks during future combat operations. These 5 weapon systems make the US military extremely dangerous for any adversary looking to get into a conflict with them. In a conventional warfare setting, it's almost impossible to beat the US military machine. That's why modern enemies of the United States are employing more and more asymmetric warfare strategies against the mighty US military. Despite that, the US military juggernaut is hands down the most powerful military complex in the world today, and probably will be for decades to come.
Well, that's the end of the video, and it was absolutely breathtaking. It's not so much the volume of the stuff, because that's staggering on its own right. The amount of naval ships, the amount of aircraft carriers, the amount of drones they're going to have. It's not just the number, it's the actual technology of it all. It is simply put in a league of its own. They are incredible, and I know, like him or hate him, Donald Trump and his presidency, I think something in 2017 you seen all the aircraft carriers, I think they've said they're being renewed or upgraded, and more contracts to build certain other parts of the military as well, up until 2030 for the more drones. And you look at the F-22 Raptors, and the other ones I forget the name of off the top of my head. There's that much in the pipeline to improve these technologies and also to create bigger numbers. They are just so far ahead of everybody else in military might and power. It's frightening. On the nuclear front as well, not just the nuclear power of it all, but the ballistic side of it as well. They just lead the way in that. Nobody comes close to them. I did try and say in the video, I don't want to talk too much over it, but you look at the like of China and North Korea, and I'm not convinced that their ballistics are even 1% close to what the US are capable of. It's just frightening. The the Navy side of things is beautiful to see. When you see them all in formation like that, and then I'm also mentioning in the video, under the water, what you don't see, the subs. Like Britain, it's been a long time now since the Royal Navy ruled the waves. America has been, I think, from the Second World War onwards, just blowing everyone out of the water. They became a superpower after the Second World War, didn't they? And then just a steady progression. I think when it was the race for space, the race for nuclear with Russia during the Cold War, they just kept developing things so quickly. But what was mentioned on Donald Trump was he did promise a hell of a lot more money. He says, I think I can remember him saying the military was depleted, their equipment was behind where it should have been. It needed improvements on all fronts, and he promised so much money into these fields. As everybody would know, Donald Trump was a US patriot. There is absolutely no doubt about that, and at the forefront of his patriotism was the military. He didn't scrimp on any of those fronts. He's pumped in a lot of money, and it looks like the next administrations will be hopefully they don't try and reverse any of these contracts that are happening right now to produce more. I wouldn't like to see that happen, because there's a lot of jobs. What you've got to remember is the economy is bound to be, if you're producing this stuff on American soil, the jobs that are created as well, so therefore tax that's being paid, is keeping a lot of people putting food on dinner tables as well. So it's good, positive stuff for the economy as well. But the race for space, we never really seen a lot of. Obviously, in the computer games, you're seeing the weaponizing of space. I've got no doubt in my mind that is going on a quite a big scale. But one thing I wanted to see touched on was the cyber stuff. I would like to see if anybody could tell me more. I suppose it's a lot more hush-hush. You want to keep your cards a lot closer to your chest than what you do when you're showing your aircrafts, your ships, your army and marine type stuff on land. You're a lot more forthcoming with that sort of stuff. But when it comes to the cyber, everybody would be looking to keep their cards close to their chest on that one, because it is becoming something, I would say, in the next few decades, it's going to be one of the most dangerous things to the world. Is going to be the ability to use cyber warfare. They reckon the Chinese are, well, from what I've read over the last year or so, are very much putting a lot of effort into it. So I'd imagine somebody like the United States, who lead the world on most fronts, if not all, are up there, probably #1 in the world on that front as well. Let's be brutally honest about it. But what a video, really, really interesting. Some of the details about the upgrades that they're doing. I think one of them they mentioned, he says they've had the same one for 40 or 50 years or something there. And if something works, why change it? Just upgrade it. Make sure it's still fully functionable. If it's working and it's the best, does it really need to be changed? Who knows? I don't think so. But knowing what the Americans are like, they won't sit too long before they want us to be advancing on that as well, somewhere down the line, I'd imagine. But what a video. Hope you've enjoyed the video if you haven't seen it. I know some of the details there, but quite a lot of that was news to me, and it was a really good watch, and I enjoyed it. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, as I've said, and put the notifications bell on, and share any of my videos if you like them, of course. Because it really does help the channel grow. I'm trying my hardest to get to 100,000 subscribers, and I'm going to be doing more US content. Military, obviously I've been touching on the patriotic side of the US with the national anthem, the flag, a little bit of the history. I do on my other channel quite a lot of American sports as well, so check that out. That's a Dawn of World Sports, and the link to the original video will be in the description section below. Thanks again everyone, and I'll see you all soon. Goodbye.